We have a quorum right now. We have Commissioner Shepard on the line, Commissioner Powell. I saw Commissioner Adams. And who's the fourth board member? I don't think I can see everybody. Do you know who the fourth person is? You're muted.
Commissioner Powell, Commissioner Shepard,
Shepard
Commissioner Adams,
and
and you.
myself. Duh. Okay. Oh my God. We have a quorum. We're gonna get started. Sorry about that, you guys. So bear with us because this is our first time ever hosting a public forum in this manner. So welcome. Staff will be asking folks to raise their hand, which is a feature. If you go down below, let's see, I'm trying to find where that feature is.
If they move their mouse over the screen, they'll see where it says participants. And if they click on participants, then they can see where they can virtually raise their hand.
Okay, and that's how we're going to be calling people, correct? She said.
That is correct.
Okay, and so we're just going to get started, right? So whoever wants to speak first can raise their hand first.
Do you want to give an introduction on what this is and how much time people have?
Oh, yes. Thank you. Sorry about that, you guys. So this is, hold on, Commissioner Malloy just joined. So this is the budget hearing. It's a web version of it on Zoom. And so this is in response to COVID-19. We would typically have one where people can come and sign up to speak. And because we're doing it in this online format and it's pretty much an open process, doesn't allow for folks to sign up in advance, we're going to use the hand feature. But in addition, you will get 2 minutes to speak, and then staff will be managing that portion of it. So after the 2 minutes, are we going to have a timer and a buzzer?
Yes.
And then unfortunately, after those 2 minutes, we do have to cut you off. So do apologize for that. We're trying to allow as many speakers as possible in this format. And we only have 1 hour today. But Board of Education at rcsdk12.org is where you can submit any additional feedback and comments that you want the board as a whole entire group to get. It is one centralized email that's easier to get it to all 7 board members. Staff always make sure that all of the comments and public feedback that's submitted or that's read even before the regular board meeting are always sent in writing back to all the board members. And so as people are coming in, again, you can raise your hand and we'll get started. Anything else that I missed, Marisol or Kalia?
Once the 2 minutes have expired, the microphone will be muted and the camera will be turned off. We want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to speak.
Okay. So, and again, if there's not enough time, Board of Education at rcsdk12.org. So Matthias, we explained how do you raise your hand, so the chat feature is still on. So we do have, I apologize because we do have someone that has to be kicked out who is
I'm going to take care of that right now.
Thank you. Yeah, we're gonna have to lock the meeting. We kind of have the meeting locked, but
you can continue, Commissioner. I'll take care of this.
Thank you. Sorry, you guys. Like, we've been getting Zoom bombed in all types of Zoom meetings, and it happened to myself, Mary, and Rachel. So, okay. So on the Marisol, you said on the bottom screen they can raise their hand by moving the mouse.
All they have to do is click to where it says participants.
Okay. So I can't see the hand raising. Can you guys see the hand raised?
I can, and no one has their hand raised.
Okay.
Actually, there is someone that has their hand raised, but they don't have a name. And so because they don't have a name, I am not going to allow them to speak.
Okay,
If
well,
you,
Matthias is raising his hand. So if you can unmute him, I think we actually still have.
all right, go.
Hey, everyone. Yeah, thanks for having these open meetings. I wanted to quickly say, I respect and understand all of the constraints that you all are under, and the fact that cuts do have to be made to this budget. The ones that you've chosen to make, understandably, are just tragic. It's a tragedy that we have to cut the bilingual academy, a program that was started on humanitarian grounds after Hurricane Maria, when we had an influx of essentially climate refugees coming from Puerto Rico. And the fact that we have to close it again now in the wake of the major earthquakes in Puerto Rico is really just tragic. I don't have a proposal for how to do otherwise than what you all have done, apart from pointing out the sources of this crisis. And it is a crisis of state funding, just chronic underfunding by the state of the education system in the state and of the Rochester City School District in particular. So I know that you all have been advocating, and that Terry Dade has been advocating for receipts of the $84 million that are owed to the RCSD from foundation aid. The fact that, as I understand it from having spoken to Beatriz, the current projected deficit is around $85 million, and that's a growth. It's a growth that's due to the fact that the state is not raising the budget to the extent that was anticipated. And that's partly due to COVID-19, most significantly due to the fact that Andrew Cuomo resists all reasonable proposals to, in the state with the highest inequality in the country, raise taxes on the wealthy, as has been proposed, to fully meet the needs of the foundation aid program. Okay, so that's all kind of, that's a discussion that you all have been having and advocating to fix at the state level. It's something that we don't have control over now. Here's something that we do have control over now, and it's the propagation of charter schools in this city. So if you look at, as I have, the RCSD budget from 2014 to 2018, the growth in spending on charter school tuition would fully have met the needs of the original budget deficit of $30 million.
I'm sorry, but I have to cut you off because your time is expired.
I'll raise my hand again later.
You can go once, as long as everyone else is gone. Thank you. Our next speaker is Don Bartolo. Don, you are welcome to come on.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But we can.
Yesterday, I sat in on the children's agenda. They reviewed the budget. And one of the areas of concern from the participants, it was just like this with Zoom, was the addition of 19 instructional coaches. I used to work with instructional coaches, and I'm very much in favor of them. But I wonder if any of the board members have thought about how they're going to react to public opposition to adding these positions at this time. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not against that. I'm for it. That's something I used to work with. But my question is, how do you defend bringing additional professionals at a time like this? That's my question. for Amy or Willa or Beatrice, any of the board members?
Mr. Bartolo, the format of this session is for you to speak to the board members, but it is not a dialogue. So you have
Okay.
2 minutes to speak. Thank you.
You're tough. Very good. All right. So I am speaking. And what I'm saying is add those people. One of the biggest problems in the district are the number of children in kindergarten, first, second, and third grade who do not have the reading, writing, listening, and speaking skills. Our early learning program has been all over the place. Yes, the pre-K program is strong, but you must realize it doesn't carry through. Those 4 grade levels have to be coordinated. And where you want to look, in my opinion, is not 3rd grade, 4th grade. And what you're looking for is literacy independence.
Thank you, Mr. Bartolo. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Commissioner LeBron, we do not have anyone else with their hand up. So I will remind everyone that if you scroll and move your mouse over your screen, you will see a bar that comes up and says participants. When you click on participants, you will have the opportunity there to raise your hand. We have quite a few participants, and so I want to invite you to utilize this time to speak to the Rochester Board of Education. This is our budget hearing. You will have 2 minutes to do so. If you can do so by virtually raising your hand, and that's by clicking on the participants icon at the bottom of your screen and then clicking on raise your hand. Commissioner LeBron.
Yes, give me 1 second. Sorry, my folks were walking behind me, so I turned
That's
off the
okay.
camera so they can come down.
I know that we have quite a few participants online, but I am wondering how long you wanted to give for speakers to come back on.
If folks are not on, oh, I just got a message saying that some people are trying to get on, but they can't get into the Zoom meeting. And I don't see folks in the waiting room.
I think the issue was because we did have some Zoom bombers that the restrictions had to be put in, but we do have some people and I'm going to go ahead and admit them. I see Eric
Okay.
Stevens is joining us.
Yeah, I'm getting messages from folks.
Okay.
Yep.
So we'd like to welcome everyone who's joined our budget hearing via Zoom. Commissioner LeBron is facilitating this session, and we can go through explaining how to raise your hand so that you can participate.
So you just have to scroll the mouse over your name and you should see a bar. Is it over your name or on the bottom? I have a different screen as the host. So if you want to speak, you have to raise your hand virtually.
You go to the participants panel, and all the way down at the bottom on the lower left, there'll be a raise hand icon that they can use to raise their hand. And you only have to click it once because it takes a moment for it to activate.
So here we have someone and their screen name is Kind and they have raised their hand. Commissioner LeBron, if you're okay, I'm going to go ahead and unmute them.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. As a parent of 2 proud graduates from the Rochester City School District and also an employee in the District of Special Education, I am very concerned about how all of this is going to negatively impact a district that is already in dire need of help and support, both emotionally, socially, financially, and otherwise.
Ma'am, I need to interrupt you and ask you to please
Yes.
say your name.
My name is Karen.
Thank you. You may proceed.
So, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
You can go ahead.
Oh, okay, thank you, I appreciate it. So I just want to state that the cuts that are being taken into account is very alarming. I'm concerned about where money is being cut and how it's being cut, and how transferring students or legal financial assistance from one department to the Board of Education or other things. Perhaps possibly cuts could be taken from salaries for people that are just attending meetings and overseeing departments. Paraprofessionals and teaching assistants have to work multiple jobs to make the same amount of money as employees of the Board of Education, and that is not fair. Having students have to go from one school to another school is not fair. We need to take into consideration the needs and concerns of all of the children in this district and their families and the employees that serve them. That's all. Thank you.
I'd like to jump in and provide some feedback to individuals who are speaking. This is a public session. You do have to provide your name and whether you are a student, a parent, a community member, or a staff person. And you must do so with your video on. And if your video is not on, unfortunately, we will not allow you to continue. This is not an anonymous format. Thank you.
Was that better?
Thank you very much. But your time is up, so I really appreciate you participating.
No, that's fine.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jessica Gustafson. Jessica, welcome. Please turn on your video.
Yes, please. Hi, is my video on?
Your video
Yes,
is on and you
yeah.
have 2 minutes. Thank you very much.
My name is Jessica Gustafson. I'm a district parent. Navigating this budget is no doubt like making a decision between bad and worse. You have to make the best of a bad situation, and I encourage you to do it in a way that supports our most vulnerable students and is equitable across the district. I encourage you to keep social workers and eliminate SROs. We cannot claim to be a community that cares about the equitable treatment of our students if we continue to criminalize adolescent behavior while taking away the supports that they need to navigate the challenges that they face. Social workers are pivotal to the work that is happening in our buildings, and students depend on social workers to navigate educational and physical disabilities, trauma connected with relocation for our refugee students, mental and emotional difficulties, stresses at home, and other issues. Only when a student's emotional and social needs are met can they show up ready to learn. Common Core standards come secondary to that which social workers provide for our students. We do not support these students, and we do not support these students when we criminalize their behavior by putting police officers in their schools. I urge you to save our social workers and eliminate SROs. Our kids are not criminals. They need social emotional support. I also encourage our community as a whole and the board members and superintendent to continue to fight for foundation aid. Without the state funding that we need, we're going to continue to be in this situation every spring, chipping away at resources that our students depend on. We need to continue to ask the state to fulfill its constitutional obligation to provide sound and basic education for every child by fully funding the foundation formula. We have an opportunity to take creative steps and innovative solutions. We must come together and work together for our vulnerable neighbors. And I urge you to make decisions that, urge you board commissioners to make decisions that put our children at the center and strive to get at what they need to thrive, to grow into whole adults and productive citizens in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. So just a reminder, if you go down to the bottom and you move your mouse, it'll say participants, and then you're able to raise your hand virtually. That way we can call on you. And unfortunately, we can't answer, but
So we invite anyone who has not yet spoken to please join our budget hearing and provide comments to the Board of Education. They are here listening to you. If you have already spoken, I'm going to have to hold off before we call your name again to make sure that anyone else who wishes to speak can do so. I'll remind you to scroll down to the bottom bar, and where it says participants, you can click on there. And then there's a feature that's going to indicate that you can raise your hand, and that's a virtual raising of the hand. So thank you for joining us, but it's important that you all participate. I'd also like to remind everyone who is on the Zoom call that your typed comments on the chat will not be read. And so if you want to participate, this is the opportunity to do so. This is an open forum. We are not accepting any anonymous comments. So in order to speak, you must raise your hand, have your video on, and we will unmute you. So if you're interested in speaking, please do so. We do have a finance committee meeting that's going to begin at 6:30. And so we do plan on ending this session right on time. Ms. Egan, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. You have 2 minutes to speak. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
My name is Sheila Egan, and I'm an E&L teacher at Helen Barrett Montgomery School 50. I'm writing today with grave concerns about Ms. Powell's suggestion about furloughing teachers and what that says about. Last week, as I watched the board discuss possible solutions to our budget, I was appalled at the idea that K-5 teachers, or any teachers, should be furloughed. I wasn't upset because it could potentially impact my career and income. I was upset because these are our children's educations and this is their future. If you really believe furloughing K-5 teachers is acceptable, then you shouldn't be making decisions about our schools and students because you don't care about their futures. I, like countless other teachers in this district, am working harder now than ever to ensure our kids and their families have what they need, food and safety being my first priority, after which I can help with access to education. I can't imagine insinuating that providing technology to our students is enough to ensure that they can continue their educations, as though that's the only responsibility that this district has to our students and families. Thinking because our kids have access to technology, they're all set, reflects how little you understand about our school's important and varied roles in our students and families' lives.
Marisol,
Egan, I appreciate your comments. Yes, Commissioner LeBron.
Ms. Megan Reddington had her hand raised, like I saw her hand physically raised. I think she wants to comment. Don't know where she went.
Okay, she can come back on and I can unmute her. I have Simone who has indicated that they want to speak. I can unmute Simone. If you could please tell us your first and last name and whether you are a student, a parent, a community member, or a staff member. Simone?
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm a student at School of the Arts. I'm a senior, graduating this year. Hopefully getting a graduation. I just want to comment and say I know we're looking at small, and I know a couple of workers have spoken about SROs in the school. Something I think I really should consider is the fact that students aren't in school right now, and also the fact that when we're in school, specifically have impact schools, and they just raise arrest rates in our schools. And the number of charges that they mostly handle are disorderly conduct charges. And the numbers of weapon charges are extremely low. So if the safety of our students is what board members may be worried about, I can assure you from what I know, from what I've experienced in my school, SSOs have better relationships with their students and they protect the students more than SROs do. And I know a lot of kids did not even know what SSOs were versus SROs. And once I learned the difference, and the only thing that I really learned is that it costs us more money, like triple amount of money after looking at the budget for each SRO station, and they don't really they don't really impact our students as greatly as FSOs do with the relationship that they have with the students from what I've seen in my school. And we could easily double the amount of FSOs in school and save money still. So if we're talking about small tick items, but also worrying about the safety of our students, getting rid of FSOs is a small tick item that will greatly not just impact for our budget saves, but for our students' mental health as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Simone. Yvonne Villarreal has her hand up. Yvonne, I will unmute you and your 2-minute timer starts right now. Yvonne, can you hear me?
Yes, now I can. Good evening.
Okay,
I'm
thank you.
Riel. I am an SL teacher at School 33. I work in general education. I work in special education, alternative assessment, and I also work in Spanish dual language classes. I realize that this budget year is very challenging, and then there are a lot of decisions to be made. There's no sacred cows. I don't envy the position that the board is in or Superintendent Dade. However, I ask that you are thoughtful and mindful as the decisions are made as to what positions are going to be eliminated and how that will affect our students. I also understand that there has been, different conversations about what cuts to make, and furloughing teachers was one of the suggestions. I can tell you, as a K-6 teacher, I think I have doubled the amount of time that I put in to working with my students, the outreach, the social work that I've been providing, the triaging, making sure that my students and families have food and packets, and just supporting their social, emotional well-being. So I hope that that particular option is taken off the table. And again, I wish the board and Superintendent Dade a lot of luck as they move through this budget. It's a harrowing time for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For those of you that have just joined us, we are doing a virtual raising of the hand. If you scroll your mouse over the screen, you will see a bottom bar that says participants. That gives you the opportunity to go by your name and virtually raise your hand. And at that time, you'll be unmuted and you will receive 2 minutes to speak to the Board of Education. So anyone who's interested in participating, please make sure to virtually raise your hand. Commissioner LeBron, the time is 6:05. We have until 6:30 before this session ends and our Finance Committee meeting begins. Do you have a sense of how much time you would like to give for people to speak? And now I have some hands up. So I'm going to turn it over to Ketsia. If you could please state your first name and last name and whether you are a student, parent, community member, or staff person. Ketsia, you have 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Ketsia Rodriguez, and I am a member of the community. Following up in terms of positions that are being laid off, I know that from the budget that we already got to look at that was drafted, I know that certain special education positions are being reduced, and that we can definitely expect more layoffs in the foreseeable future. Following also the closing of Bilingual Academy, but I have not seen any numbers in terms of ELL support being reduced. Can we expect to see more specific numbers on the reductions of particular staff members in regard to special education and bilingual education before it's voted upon?
So I'll jump in once again and say that this is your opportunity to speak to the Board of Education, but it is not the opportunity to engage in a dialogue with them. They are here to hear your comments and your concerns. And so any questions that you ask will remain unanswered. Thank you.
Okay, so if there are no actions, well, then I just have concerns, I guess, about the bilingual education and more specific numbers in terms of reductions for ELL program. Thank you.
So I know Megan Reddington has been trying to raise her hand. I don't know if she can hear me.
Yep, I can.
Hey.
Thank you.
Well,
Is it my turn?
It is your turn. You have 2 minutes.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you very much.
So hi, my name is Megan Reddington. I'm a parent. I have 3 students in the district, and I'm also a kindergarten teacher at School 58. And I just want to talk with the board or try to get some more information in the future about the my concerns with charter schools. And I really feel that the budget with what I believe is $100 million going out to charter schools, I want the board to be more transparent or to communicate with parents more about what this means for our district. It seems that we have a competing school district now with goodschools.org, the charter school network happening, and we're giving money from our budget to the charter schools. And it's very concerning as a parent and as a teacher to see this money being given over to a school district within our own city. So I would like for there to be some kind of task force or some kind of research that parents and teachers can better understand why charter schools seem to be operating under different rules than the RCSD. Many times those students that don't succeed in the charter schools come back to our district, and I'm concerned that the money isn't always following those students back into the district. And is there something that the RCSD can do to keep those students in the district? And what steps are we taking, to provide an education for those students? And what are the charter schools, what's happening to them at this time? Are they experiencing a budget, shortage? So I'd really like to encourage the board to maybe do more research on that and see how maybe we can stop opening charter schools and keep that money in our district so that we can provide all the kids in Rochester a better education. One of my concerns was that Urban Choice was shut down and then kind of quietly it reopened. And how is that possible? Because when an RCSD school shuts down, it doesn't have the same kind of response from the state as that. So,
Ms. Reddington, I'm sorry that I have to interrupt you, but your 2 minutes are up.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Amon Scanlon. Amon, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, board. Yes, I'm a community member and I'm speaking on behalf of the Children's Agenda as the education policy. I'm sure the board has already received our executive summary that we emailed to all of you, including the superintendent, the CFO, and the deputy superintendent. Just to reiterate our recommendations in this budget, the elimination of 31.5 social workers will put the district in legal peril in terms of providing required psychological counseling to its students. And the cuts to special education will be quite crippling for that department, which is currently under a consent decree with Empire Justice. It is unclear to us how you will be able to meet the legal requirements within that agreement when you are gutting the central administration that oversees the progress that's being made, particularly 10 associate directors and 10 teacher coordinators of special education. To the extent possible, those positions should be restored to have that department function. Also, the number of special education teachers and teaching assistants being cut, it's not clear that that is a reaction to a reduction in the needs of the student and the services required in their IEPs. We do not request a specific number of teachers, but it is only that those numbers of programs are consistent with the needs of the students and the IEPs, again, putting the district in legal jeopardy if that is not the case. The closure of the bilingual academy has not been met with a plan as clear to meet the needs of those students, and the lack of a permanent newcomer program for internally displaced English language learners from Puerto Rico and Latin America is a serious concern of ours, and we'd like to see a plan for that. And then, of course, more generally, the reduction overall of ESL teachers, which was primarily from the Bilingual Academy and the Rochester International Academy. Those students still need services. If you're closing programs, how will you meet the needs of those students?
Amen. Your
There we
2
go.
minutes are up. Thank you very much for your participation.
Okay.
Stop button. Vibrate. Stop button. Double tap to activate.
Barb Van Kerkhove has her hand up. I'm going to unmute her, and your 2 minutes start right now.
Barb, you have to unmute yourself. Let me try to unmute you. Okay, there you go.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Barb Van Kerkhove. I'm a former parent in the district, and I'm a member of the Community Task Force on School Climate. And I think, you know, as I've said in social media posts, the district's really between a rock and a hard place and has very hard decisions to make. And I know that. And I really want the district to focus on what is absolutely core, critical to our students, as well as to meet its legal obligations. And I think one of the ways to get a little bit of money is to not use SROs in the schools anymore, and to put that money towards what's working to build relationships and create mutual understanding between the staff and our students, and keep those types of programs going, because that's the way to create safety in our schools that will have a bigger impact than having police officers in the schools. And when they're needed, they can be accessed by calling 911. So that's what I would highly recommend as one of the ways to shift money in the district. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your participation.
Marisol, I think you froze. Can you guys hear me?
Serena, last name, wife list.
Yes. Can you hear me? Hello?
Go ahead, Serena.
Okay, yes. Hi, my name is Serena, last name Chiboleka. My son is a student at one of the schools in the city. I'll make it brief. So I think that we should hopefully look at keeping all social worker positions, because as mentioned by others previous to me, that social workers are critical to the survival of our children in the district. They provide so many much needed services to our kids, like counseling. They support them with meeting daily needs, and also they function as support for other staff members in their schools, in their buildings. If other staff members want to like vent, they have social workers that they can go to for that. So social workers are people that are vital to our schools, and that we cannot see and allow them to be cut. So cuts have to be made. I'm wondering, I don't know much, but I keep thinking about the chiefs in the schools. What is their vital function? And is it a possibility that we can cut in that area? Maybe we can cut the chiefs. And if they happen to have big salaries, that could be a way that we could save money, so that we can save our social workers, save essential programming. And I think others have mentioned that we should cut police officers from our school. I'm all for that, especially if it's going to save us lots of money and safe programming that is vital to our children. We should do that. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Iman Abid. Iman?
Hi, my name is Iman Abid. I am a community member. And is that all I have to, I think, say about myself? Yes, sure. Excuse me, thank you so much for the time. So I highly encourage folks on the school board to reconsider what recommendations the superintendent made to the budget. We need to restore the social workers providing the legally required counseling, the special education teachers needed to comply with the IEP plans, and the 18 SL teachers to meet the needs of the RCSD's multilingual population. The district also needs to cut the SRO contract that cost the district $1.57 million and cost the district more than $100,000 for every cop. We need to see cuts being made to the chief of staff, public safety, and human resource budgets that increase in a time of fiscal crisis. The recommendations made by the superintendent will not uphold the legal requirements of children who are generally at the intersection of any fiscal, academic, or administrative issue, and we will only put the district in further legal issues if the IEP plan needs are not met, if the needs of SL teachers are not met, and if we continue to use punitive measures instead of restorative measures. We also encourage folks at the NYCLU, excuse me, I did not mention it, but I am a representative of the New York Civil Liberties Union, and we've been working with some of the activists in the Rochester City School District, and there are youth activists who are actually going to be hosting a student town hall this Thursday, April 16th at 6 p.m., and we'll include the link in the comments for anyone who would like to join, and highly encourage folks to listen and hear out the students who are actually going to be directly impacted by these cuts. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Our next speaker is Ashley. Ashley, please provide your first and last name and your affiliation.
Hi, my name is Ashley Gant, and I'm a community member. I'm also an organizer at the NYCLU. And I'm going to try to not ask questions and just say a comment. So while I definitely agree that SROs should be cut and replaced with SSOs in schools, from my understanding, the gap is so enormous that even with these cuts, we'll still be in a deficit. And my question is, rather than cutting, well, my comment is rather than cutting from the bottom, I want to know what the cuts are from the top at the administrative or executive level, like who's getting pay cuts, who's getting furloughed or whatever you may have it. And then my other comment is going to be, because we're going to still be in a deficit next year, what is the, I want to encourage us to think about what is the plan next year. Are we going to continue cutting teachers? Or are we going to do something on a federal and state level so that we don't have to be in this position again? And that's it.
Thank you very much for your comments. Tali Beckwith-Cohen, you are our next speaker. You have 2 minutes. Thank you. Tali, can you hear me?
Yeah, I had to wait for it to.
There you go. Thank you very much.
My name is Tali Beckwith-Cohen, and I am an RCSD student. And I want to talk about SROs in schools. I know it's been mentioned, but I think it needs to keep being mentioned because it's that important. So right now, this is a matter of priorities, right? We're in a time where you need to show us what you see is as the most important for students. So I believe that SROs are problematic at any time, right? They increase arrest rates, criminalize students, and create a school environment where we don't feel safe or trusted by our teachers and our administration. But especially in a time where we're being forced to keep only the most essential positions, it's frankly ridiculous to me that we would cut social workers and keep cops. That is telling us that you put our ability to be your ability to arrest us and criminalize us over our social emotional health. Please, you need to listen to students. We are the ones who know better than anyone what it is we need, and it is not SROs. We need social emotional help, we need our teachers, and we do not need cops. So I just want to make that super clear. Thank you. And I really believe that when we're having this discussion, student voices need to be championed in it. You need to be hearing from students, because we are the ones on the inside. We are the ones who interact with the school environment every day. We are the ones who know what we need. So I really feel that you need to listen to us there. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you very much for your comments. We truly appreciate you taking the time to join us. Our last speaker is Sarah Martin. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you, Sarah, And you can go ahead. You have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Hello, thank you all for your time. I did not plan on speaking, but can you see me? I am a first-year school social worker at the Rochester City School District. As I said, this is my first year. I work at IAT in the Franklin campus. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and a credentialed alcohol and substance abuse counselor. When I arrived at that school, there were 2 other social workers. And honestly, from my first day there, I had people knocking on my door. I'm going to read what I said. My first paid day on the job, I had 2 emergencies to respond to that I could not even wait for me to be trained, introduced, arrange my office, and both of them were suicide assessments. I don't even know how it's fathomably possible that these 2 other social workers were in the building without a third help. And now we're talking about cutting that back down even further. When I think about above and beyond IEPs, above and beyond psychosocial assessments, I have students who've come to me and talk about you know, that they were raped, that they're abused, that there's not enough food. I had teachers that asked me to push in on the classrooms. We are day in and day out, busting our butts. If I must express to you that when I cry about thinking about these cuts, yes, it's my job. I love my job. But it's not for my job, it's for these kids. I honestly cannot even wrap my brain around cutting one position in social work, let alone the deep cuts that have been proposed. The first day on the job, when I had these 2 suicide assessments, they came knocking on my door, not because I was the person of choice, but because the principal, the 3 assistant principals, the 2 other social workers, and the 4 school counselors were legitimately busy with other work. I mean, it is running from the moment you get in there, providing this foundation of safety, of meeting the students' needs, of lifting them up and saying, get to class, you can do this. Today's going to be a better day, of intervention. And then we talk about meeting that legal mandate. There's just no way. There's absolutely no way. And as a first-year social worker, this is just brand new eyes. First year in the district, I'm a clinical social worker, so I've been in social work many years. Brand new eyes. I don't know any of you. I think there has to be another way to cut this. SROs are a great idea. Our resource office SRO is a wonderful person, not very helpful.
Ms. Martin.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. We
Bye.
truly appreciate them.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Commissioner LeBron, it is 6:25. I do not have any more hands raised. Did you want to give the opportunity for another comment, or do you want to close out with some comments of your own in terms of next steps?
If anybody else has an additional comment. I know that Don, I see you raised your hand, but if anybody who hasn't commented wants the opportunity to comment now, otherwise I will let Don finish us off. Okay, I'm gonna let Don finish us off then, and then I'll close up.
Go ahead, Don, you are unmuted.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I'm a grandfather of 2 kids in the district. I'm a former superintendent, and I'm a literacy specialist. I've been in your position. I want to speak to the members of the board that are online. When you go to that finance committee, put a big circle, pie graph, and take a look at where you're spending the most money. And make sure you understand that. And then ask yourself, what are we supposed to do as board members? Those 2 things have got to guide you. I would urge you to take a look at class size beginning in 5th grade. Number 2, when you look at that pie graph, you're going to see that you're spending a great deal of money on non-instructional. It's probably mostly for salaries and benefits. The next thing is stop talking about foundation aid. It's not going to come. Forget it. You spend too much time and too many worries about that. A second thing is union concessions. When that happens, we'll all be able to walk on water. It is not going to happen. They don't make concessions. They never have, and they never will.
Mr. Bartolo?
And the last thing is, yep, I'm
Your
done,
2
right?
minutes are up. Yes, sir. Thank you very much for your
Thank you.
participation.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner LeBron, it's all yours.
Yeah, I'm muted, so I apologize. So it's 6:28. We're gonna wrap up, unfortunately, here. If anybody had some comments, or you can submit questions to the board as well. I'm gonna throw out the Board of Education at rcsdk12.org email again, so that you can submit questions and information there as well. Join us at the next Zoom meeting. You won't be allowed to participate in this format, but we do have the Finance Committee following this meeting. And I believe we're starting at 7 p.m.
No, ma'am, we are going to be starting quite promptly after this meeting. So we're looking at 6:40 as our start time.
Okay, so 6:40. It'll be live on Facebook and at rcsdk12/YouTube to watch live on either format. So thank you guys again for coming out. I hope that you continue to tune in and watch the budget hearings and the deliberations. We vote on May 7th for the final budget. And again, questions and comments can always be submitted to the Board of Education at rcsdk12.org, and that will get to all 7 board members. Thank you and have a good night.